You wouldn't usually think of a woman as one of the most wanted criminals, especially for robbing a bank. That's usually a guy's gig. But these lady robbers must have been quite the criminal. Pulling off a bank heist is a dangerous job. But you know what they say, the greater the risk, the bigger the payoff. These women were after one thing, a hefty stack of cash. We have curated a list of most notorious female bank robbers in history. 1. Bonnie Elizabeth Parker. Bonnie Elizabeth Parker gained infamy as the most notorious female bank robber of the 20th century, wanted by authorities for multiple bank heists and murders. She turned to a life of crime after meeting her lover, Clyde Barrow, who was already involved in criminal activities. Over a span of 2 years, Bonnie and Clyde caused chaos in Oklahoma, Texas, New Mexico, and Louisiana. Their robberies were particularly brutal, often resulting in violent confrontations and bloodshed. Despite successfully avoiding the authorities for 2 years, Bonnie's criminal journey came to an end in 1934 when she was ambushed by the police. She met her demise in a shootout in Louisiana. 2. Patty Campbell Hearst. She found herself entangled with a radical group known as the Symbionese Liberation Army. Initially a hostage, she was manipulated into joining the liberation after psychological pressure. In February 1974, Patty was kidnapped from her apartment with the aim of pressuring the government, particularly her father, a political figure, to change certain laws. The liberation held her captive until she chose to align herself with them. Patty carried out her first bank robbery in April 1974, followed by another just a month later. In March 1976, she was convicted of a violent robbery and sentenced to 7 years in prison. However, President Jimmy Carter granted her a pardon after she served 22 months behind bars. 3. Jill Sandra Erickson. She teamed up with her husband, Jeffrey E. Erickson, to form a 2-person gang. They tied the knot in July 1983, and, interestingly, it was 7 years into their marriage that they embarked on a life of crime. The duo pulled off their first bank robbery at the First Nationwide Bank in January 1990. The following year, in 1991, they carried out 3 more bank heists in Arizona alone, expanding their criminal activities to multiple states. Jill's life came to a tragic end during a heated police chase in Cook County, Illinois. She was shot and lost her life in the gunfire exchange, with forensic evidence pointing to a self-inflicted wound as the cause of her death. 4. Barbie Bandits. On April 27, 2007, Ashley Miller and Heather Johnston found themselves in handcuffs, escorted into an Atlanta police station. They were nabbed as the prime suspects in the Bank of America robbery. Before her arrest, Heather Johnston had a promising future as a student athlete. Coming from a Christian family, she excelled in her studies and showed great potential as a tennis player, often likened to the Serena Williams of her generation. Johnston shared that it all began as a joke. After being kicked out of her family home for taking on a stripping job at a local club, she found refuge with her co-worker and friend, Ashley Miller. Under the influence of drugs and enticed by the allure of quick cash, the idea of robbing a bank seemed like a tempting venture to them. Fueled by inspiration from a crime movie and aided by an insider, the pair of 19-year-olds managed to make off with $11,000. However, the reality hit hard when Ashley and Heather were apprehended just 2 days after the heist. Their criminal escapade led to a 10-year prison sentence. 5. Catherine Ann Power. Back in 1970, Catherine Ann Power made it to the FBI's most wanted list. She took off after pulling off robberies at an armory and a bank in Massachusetts, using aliases like May Kelly and Alice Metzinger. Catherine remained on the run for 23 years until she decided to turn herself in to the authorities. She admitted to and pleaded guilty for both robberies, earning a 20-year sentence, of which she served 14 years on probation. These are the some notorious women's. Some are serving jail time, while others, such as Ann Power, turned over a new leaf. The life stories of these female bandits are enough proof that crime really doesn't pay.